TGIF Chicago. The Bears 2024 playoff road has been revealed. Could the born again Bears be destined for a 12-5 playoff run? Justin Fields has been revealed to be more disgruntled than an Illinois taxpayer. Matt Eberflus is suddenly styling and profiling like he's Timothy Chalamet. And the Chicago Cubs have admitted they have a bullpen problem. And Angel Reese wants to be the Windy City Hoops Angel. We will cover all of that and more tonight, friends, on an epic weekend kickoff edition of the voice of the Chicago sports fan, Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. Thank you so much for joining us, friends. I am Cleet Soup Campbell, along with the sports podcasting tag team champions of the world, Sean, Mr. Chicago Lugo, and Matt, the great American DJ Cooper. Fellas, how are we doing tonight, guys?
Uh-oh. Dude, you got Sean so worked up he can't even hear him.
Oh, boy. Sean is playing hurt, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, there he is. See, Sean, dude, Sean, you got so excited, man. We couldn't even hear you
there. Well, friends, we have been waiting all week to talk sports with you. It is our favorite time of the week. Thank you so much for joining us. Please sure to hit that like button and subscribe to us on YouTube so you can catch all of Chicago Sports Podcast. Big shout out to our man, Leroy Pinky Pinkston III, Brandon Trackside, the whole crew Thursday night. Absolutely epic, doing monster numbers last night. Those guys were like Walter running for 275 against the Vikings in 77, fellas. They were like Michael dropping 63 on Larry Bird and the Celtics in 86. They were like Mark Burley pitching perfection for the Sox. Epic work, guys. Great job. We have quite the shoes to fill, friends. All right, guys, let's launch our very own 99-yard championship drive through the sports topics that the Windy City is water cooling, raving about this weekend. And let it start, fellas, with the reveal we have been waiting weeks for. The Bears roadmap to the 2024 playoffs is here, a.k.a. the 2024 Chicago Bears schedule. Tickets are now available, friends, through Bears.com and Ticketmaster, among other places, for the most promising Bears schedule in season in at least 5 years. Chicago's slate, as you know, fellas, ranks as the NFL's third easiest strength of schedule for 2024. Their opponents have an average 2023 win percentage of .467. The question is, guys, are they going to be Captain Jack Sparrow and find the treasure at the end of the map? Or are they going to be the disillusioned and disheartened Fox Mulder searching in the desert for truth that just is not there? Let's find out, guys. The Bears will open up this 2024 playoff quest September 8th, hosting the Tennessee Titans at noon. As you can imagine, Chicago Sports Podcast will bring you live coverage and instant game coverage every week for the 2024 season. All right, guys, let's get into the degree of difficulty of the journey. This coaching staff, as we know, Sean Lugo, is on a playoffs or bust mandate for 2024. Mr. Chicago, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the degree of difficulty you give the Bears' 2024 schedule for this team's chances of reaching the postseason for the first time since 2020, Sean?
Well, we chatted about this earlier when the schedule came out, and I liked weeks 1 through 10 for various reasons, but I got some problems with this schedule in its entirety. I do like starting against the Titans. I do. I mean, their defense is something that I think Caleb Williams can definitely work with. They retooled their offense. Obviously, their big question is, can Will Levis get the ball out to these guys, Ridley and Burks and Boyd and Hopkins? That's a really good question. I think the Bears defense can definitely get after him. But as if I go down this schedule, I do like a win on opening day in Chicago. I'm not too fond of that trip to Houston. That's a really, really stacked team for the Bears. Yeah. I know there was some question. I heard you guys touch on this a little bit on Wednesday, Coop, about that secondary. I don't remember if you guys mentioned Derek Stingley Jr. at all. That guy's a juggernaut in that secondary. And, you know, Jalen Petre's been a little bit of a disappointment so far in his early career, but that guy's still got a lot of talent. I think it's going to be a sneaky tough game for the Bears. I like the fact that we open up in our first 10 games against 5 of the worst teams predicted to be in the NFL, which is really, really awesome. And when I go down the schedule, I don't like the fact that at the end of the schedule, after, you know, we go into this late division where from 11 to 18 when we finish out the season, we have 3 games in 10 days going up against, I believe it was Minnesota, Detroit, finishing against Seattle. I don't like that. at all. And then we also get ahead of our first matchup with Green Bay. They get a 2-week bye coming into that game as we're coming in off a road trip. So I don't like the Bears' first game at home against the Packers. I think we're going to take an L, but we get that infamous 10-day break before we meet them in Green Bay. So I think then they're going to eat that cheese there. So going from there, I like the schedule. That middle part gets a little tricky with Detroit and San Francisco right in there. And the Packers. That's a little bit of a tough stretch, but I do like the Bears ceiling at 11. I think they're going to finish 10-7, and I'd be very surprised if the floor was anywhere below 9 wins. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Sean. Coop, when you talk about that, and folks, we have the schedule there right there at the bottom of the Chicago Sports Podcast ticker, brought to you by Key City Writing. I worried about that 3-game stretch, road stretch from late November to mid-December that Sean's talking about, Coop, because that's make or break there. That stretch there, which we're probably going to have to go 2-1, will have major implications on whether this team gets to the postseason or not.
You know what's interesting is I was thinking about this today. I was looking at the schedule again, getting ready for the show. I'm like, by that time, and this is for all rookie quarterbacks, because all rookie quarterbacks have the highs and lows in the first year. Heck, CJ Stroud had it last year.
Yeah.
By that time, when we get to that schedule and we have that tough stretch and we have, 6 out of the 8 division games, and yet there's going to be a lot of tape on Caleb Williams at that point.
Yeah, there will be.
And these are some really good I mean, I'm looking at the schedule again. So you talk about some of the coaching and some of the coaching staffs, like the 49ers have a great coaching staff. The Lions are going to be all over that. Brian Flores and the Vikings, he's a brilliant defensive coordinator. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he performs, or it's going to be the whole year is going to be very interesting to see how he performs from the start to the finish. But what's going to happen when we're into 7, 8, 9 games of the year and some of these better teams already have some film on him?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's the evolution of a rookie quarterback, and we're going to have Caleb continue to progress, particularly when we get to the meat of this schedule, like Coop's talking about, Sean, because it's so backloaded. Will the Caleb Williams evolution and his ability to make adjustments when, as Coop says, the tape gets out on him by midseason, determine straight out whether this team is playing playoff football come January?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that's going to fall on Waldron to have him prepared. How you're going to layer this offense to be different, because I think that was one of Getsy's biggest problems was everything was so repetitive in his offense. So now if you can do what I've seen on tape with Waldron's offense where he attacks all the different levels, runs the same kind of formations, but they're actually different plays, which would be amazing to see in Chicago for once. I think that's going to help him a lot. And I really do believe that Shane Waldron, I'm not going to call him a quarterback whisperer, but I do believe he's going to really help him in his development, and especially in that stretch of the schedule. And let's be honest, guys, he's going to have some bumps in the roads. This isn't going to be all, hunky-dory. I've seen some of these crazy Bears are going to start 7-2, 8-1. I'm like, come on, guys. In the NFL, you win games you're supposed to lose, you lose games you're supposed to win. And when you're a rookie, that tends to happen a little bit more often.
Yeah. Sean, on the money as usual, Mr. Chicago. And Coop, like Sean's saying, it's asking a lot of Williams to open up 4-1 as a rookie when he's seen a lot, especially these blitz packages, from NFL, seeing them for the first time and seeing speed on this level for the first time. But that being said, with as backloaded, Coop, as the schedule is this team going to have to open up 4-1 to get to that 10-win mark? Seems like it's going to be the low water part, or it's going to be that requirement to open up the door to the playoffs.
Honestly, I think it's going to be hard for them to start the season 4-1. I mean, when I look at that first part of that schedule, now I think there's a couple of unknowns in here too. When you look at the first part of the schedule, like the Titans, to me, they're probably going to be bad, but they're going to be a huge unknown. First off, I'm looking at the chats right now. There's a lot of Will Levis love in our chats. I'm just kidding.
Guys,
like,
Dustin
Squeegee, thank you guys, man. I'm like, man, they are just tearing down Will Levis.
Guys, you are epic form already tonight.
It's going to be interesting because I really thought the Titans were tanking this year. Like, I thought they fired Vrabel. I know I talked a little bit about this on Wednesday, but I thought they were firing Vrabel, but they bring in a coach that's very well respected around the league.
Yeah.
Coming from the Zach Taylor, Sean McVay type of offense.
Yeah.
He's a very smart offensive coordinator. He's a very smart offensive mind, Callahan is. And then they went out and signed all these players. They went out and spent a ton of money. They fixed they really changed their offensive line. Now and then of course they'll have Levis coming back, our favorite. And But it's gonna be interesting for them to see how they all sing because it's a first year with a lot of new players. But then I look after that. The Texans, it's Sunday night's a tough one, and I think the Colts are wild. The Colts to me are not a throwaway team either. I know they got Richardson. They got Richardson coming back, but they've got very good skill players on that team, and they were 9-8 last year. They just missed out on the playoffs.
Yeah.
So and then right after that's the Rams who went to the playoffs last. Now granted, Aaron Donald's not there anymore, and that guy was a wrecker and wreaked havoc everywhere. But Sean McVay's a great coach. Like I'm not going to put anything past that guy to come out and that team making the right draft picks like they did last year and have these young players come together. So I don't know. I don't know if 4-1 could very good be a possibility, but they could also start 2-2 or they can get off to a 500 start. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Well, the thing about it is it's the schedule is so division backloaded. I mean, that's the thing for me. I mean, the lines could start on fire like 4 or 5-0, but we won't know who's going to win this division until December because everybody's going to be playing each other. That over a stretch of like 6 to 8 weeks.
Too, that to touch on Coop with Indy. I was looking into some of their stats from last year. They blitzed the least amount in the league, but they finished with the 4th most sacks in the league. Yeah. I found that to be really interesting. They're obviously disguising their packages. They're not bringing people at them, but they're getting at them. And that could be something that really throws Caleb Williams for a loop. He's going to see a lot of things in these first few weeks with some of these brains. Isn't the coordinator – they got a new coordinator in Indy this year too, don't they? The coordinator?
No, I think it's Gus Bradley still. Gus Bradley's still.
It's the Rams. Yeah. It's the Rams. The Rams got
the Rams have a new coordinator.
Shula that came in. And that's another one too, losing Donald. I know they can put up offensive numbers there, with Puka and Cooper, but can that defense stop the Bears offense is going to be a big question because they were at the bottom of the league in sacks with Aaron Donald. I understand they got Verse and they picked up Fisk in the draft. They're asking a lot out of 2 young rookies to come in and make that impact and pick up for Donald. These games, I agree with you, Coop, 100%, are very, very, very interesting. And I did run across one quick stat I wanted to throw out there. In the last 10 years, and this does incorporate not only first round, but all quarterbacks. It was over the past decade in weeks 1 through 5, rookie quarterbacks are 36 and 76, 32% win percentage.
Wow.
Now, is Caleb Williams different? Can he buck that trend like a CJ Stroud? That's always a possibility because he seems to be ultra talented. But that was a glaring stat when I ran across that this week. I was like, wow, that makes 1 through 5 a lot different for me.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, fellas, I'm right there with you, Coop, on Indy. I think Indy's a playoff team this year. I think they have a good backup plan. They brought in the most comeback player of the year last year. Now, who knows whether the same magic that happened in Cleveland could happen again for Joe Flacco, but I think Richardson's ready to elevate himself. For me, guys, I want to get your thoughts about this, Sean and Coop. We talk about the efficiency of this Bears offense, particularly over that first month, as Caleb Williams is going to have to get adjusted to the speed of NFL pass rushes, particularly on the edge. It's all going to be about timing. It's all going to be about precision. Do you anticipate Waldron coming out here and putting together game plans that are going to be fast, quick, utilize his strength to get rid of that ball quick, to try to put points on the board early and take the pressure off him, over that first month?
I think a lot's gonna fall on the defense. I think the defense is gonna set the Bears up in some short fields, especially in the first half of the season with a lot of these young quarterbacks we're gonna be seeing. Daniels, May, Darnold Darnold and McCarthy will be a little bit later, but you have Bryce Young. I think the Bears will be playing with a lot of short fields, and I do think the first 5 weeks are gonna be should carry this 3-headed monster of Rojo, Swift, and get this guy comfortable, and Herbert, and get this guy comfortable in the NFL and acclimated. What do you think, Coop?
Yeah, I do too. And what's going to be interesting is this is also Waldron. This is his first year as our offensive coordinator. Now, I'm glad we have an experienced offensive coordinator this time around. I feel like we just keep getting new guys that have never done it before, but we got one coming in. But it's also going to be a learning curve for him too, man, because there's going to be a lot of new players on that team that he's going to be coaching. So not only do we have a rookie quarterback that he's going to be training and trying to lead the way and trying to get used to his offense, and he's going to build his offense around that, and he's not going to throw too much at it. I don't think he's going to throw too much at him at first. But at the same time, we got to remember too that Waldron's going to be doing this for the first time for the Bears with all these different players. And I know he's brought a few of them in that he's worked with before, and I'm glad he's done that. So it's going to be kind of funny when I look at that schedule because there's a few of those teams that are going to be like that this year. And I think it's pretty cool that in the beginning part, and I don't know how these rookie quarterbacks are going to pan out. I mean, we were talking about this on Wednesday. If you look back at the 2021 draft, I mean, we look at Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, all these players that have Mac Jones that are not now like are backups and not even starters anymore. A lot of them are unknown. So I think it's pretty cool that we're going to be playing up against Drake May and Jaden Daniels and even Bryce Young for a second year, because I feel like this is almost like his first year. He's got a new coaching staff in place. Yeah. And it's going to be good because I think this is what the league needs right now. The league needs these players, these quarterbacks to perform. We cannot have another draft like 2021. I know I'm going off course.
Yeah. The league definitely needs the next generation of superstar quarterbacks without question.
I was going to say, I think he got a little help because I think Xavier Legette is going to be exceptional in the league.
Yeah. So I said that on Wednesday too. I thought that was one of the best picks in the first round for the wide receiver.
Yeah. Hey guys, our great fans are on fire. Squeegee, I like what you're thinking there about a 12-5 Bears run. You know, if the D line could get some help and deliver, you know, so it's going to be interesting. The Scottish Bear also with a good point, predicting a 2-2 start for the Bears over the first month. So 12-5 is there, but is 12-5 the best case scenario? Everything falls into place for this team, or this sounds like we're drinking the Kool-Aid, but could this team potentially exceed that? Could they go beyond maybe a 12 win? Because remember, once upon a time, Matt Nagy did that in his rookie Bears head coaching season. Actually ended up winning Coach of the Year honors.
I've been a Bears fan way too long to believe in this. I looked at the schedule originally and I was like, wow, man, I could see 12 wins, but no, I really can't. There's just that the D line for me is just a huge question. Especially, I was talking to Kyle from the other day about this, and I asked him a question. I said, outside of Caleb Williams, give me the most important person on this Bears team that cannot be lost. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's Montez Sweat. Yeah. We lose him, we're in big trouble. There's nobody that we're picking up now that's going to pick that up. I mean, he is almost as important as Caleb Williams being on this team. So all these predictions and all these things that are happening. I mean, if Billings gets hurt, there goes our number one run stopper. I mean, there's no one backing these guys up at this point. So this D-line is still a huge question mark for me.
Yeah, Coop, how about, you know, I think I'm with Sean on this right now, and we'll do our predictions here, folks, in just a moment. But 12 wins is everything falling into place. I mean, the questions on this because remember, we're still talking about statistically the worst pass rush in the NFL last year. That's with them catching fire with Sweat over the last 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, well, I think they're it sounds like to me when as we get ready here, they're very confident with their defensive line, and that's great. I'm happy for that. I have questions about it too. I think they could have used another edge rusher to go after the quarterback. Now, don't forget too, now June 1st is the next wave of cuts for a lot of NFL teams to get below the salary. So there could be something there. I don't know though. I have question marks about that, and I still have some question marks about the offensive line in order for me to say that they're going to be a 12-win team. I want to see how our tackles do this year. I want to see what Wright does in his second year. I think he's going to be I still think he's going to be a very good player, but I still have some questions about Jones. I think Jones is a very solid player. I just don't know if that's if that's our future right there on our line with him at the other tackle spot. So I still have questions there and the defensive line. So to say they would have 12, everything's got to fall in place, like you guys said, for that. Yeah. And that means that we can't have a big margin for error with mistakes. We can't have a big margin of error with some of the injuries, because injuries is going to play a part at some point. It usually does. I know that over the last couple of years, there's one year where we were relatively healthy for most of the year, but injuries do happen. So I think it's going to be a small margin for error. And I don't know if we have that depth just yet, if we're going to be a 12-win team.
Go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, if I give a counterpoint to that, you know, Seattle's offense offensive line was ranked, I believe, just below the Bears, one notch below the Bears. Yeah. And Waldron was able to still use that, move the pocket, and use his quarterback efficiently and get some things done. So hopefully that'll be a key to help this offensive line, because I do agree with you, Coop. I mean, you know, Tevin Jenkins is going to get hurt. It happens every year. Yeah. Braxton Jones and these other guys seem to be solid. And I do think Jones is going to bounce back. Yeah. Or Nate Davis, excuse me. I think Nate Davis is going to bounce back. I really believe in that guy. His numbers over his career tell me he will.
Yeah. Hey, let's get back to Coop's point really quick, Sean, about the next wave of cuts coming on June 1st. Right now, overthecap.com has the Bears with 22.7 million of available cap space for 2024. Can you see Ryan Poles making another major multi-million-dollar investment to shore up that defense before we hit camp in July?
I think Hendrickson would be a great addition if he could figure
Yeah.
out how to pull that one off. But I know there's a wily veteran, and I said this before. I don't know if he can still play end at 37 years old, but Calais Campbell was coming off. He had 7.5 sacks, I believe, for Atlanta last year.
Yeah.
He's still a free agent. He's still out there. What a guy that could help the development of Javon Dexter.
Yeah.
And maybe Pickens as well.
Right. And again, and it doesn't have to be an every down guy. Absolutely.
Right. Rotational piece.
Yeah, exactly. Great points, fellas, too. Jerome, I'm right with Jerome Munoz on this. I see this team right now. If I had to call it right now, guys, I'm calling a 9-8 season. Now that we know the schedule, now we know how everything's going to align. You and I about 3 weeks ago were talking about this, Mr. Chicago. I mean, you went through it. You saw a road to 11 wins. What's your on the record prediction for the Bears win total for 2024 right now?
I'm gonna go 10-7. I think I said this a few minutes ago. Ceiling is gonna be 11. I'm saying 10-7. Bottom's gonna be 9-8. But end of the day, I'm sticking at 10-7 for the Chicago Bears this year, and I already put money on it, so they better get it done for me.
Jeremy, I got you, my friend. Great call there, Jeremy. Coop, what say you? Mr. Chicago is going 10-7. What do you got?
I think they're a 9-win team.
Yeah.
I still think I still have to be proven until I'm proven wrong here. I love that. I love everything they've done this off. Listen, I love everything they've done this off season. I think they're in the right path. I still think we need another year. We have a rookie quarterback coming in. We have an unknown there who I still think is going to be a great quarterback in this league for years to come. But you know how rookie years go for quarterbacks. Some do very well, like a CJ Stroud last year. Some could struggle, like a Bryce Young. And then even when I was watching Anthony Richardson last year, I thought there was some highs with him and there was definitely some lows. So we just don't know the answer to that. So I'm just trying to reel back my expectations here. As you were just kind of saying, Sean, about what it is to be a Bears fan and how it is your entire life. Whenever I think there's a very high ceiling, I'm like, okay, there's got to be something that's at a lower down.
All pieces are in place. One thing once said, fellas, right before 12-4 season. Love the prediction. Scottish Bear has us going 11-6. The Scrolls, he's calling a second coming of 1985.
Not a boy.
Yes, absolutely. And then
I love the confidence.
I love it as well. 10 wins is the floor. He's feeling the power of the 2024 Chicago Bears. Absolutely love it, fellas. All right, guys. The thing about this, as you look around the league and you see who's going to be drawing who, what week, is there one or two games right now, fellas, across the league that strike you as games that could predict or determine the contestants for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans come next February?
Dude, the one that stands out to me, I love that the Chiefs are playing the Bengals in week 2. I think that's awesome because I feel like normally they wait for the last few years. They've waited towards the end of the season for that, but right out the bat, man, they're going Joe Burrow coming back from his injury, and they're saying, no, we're going to get this rolling here for week 2 and kind of set a precedent of what the AFC is going to be like because I think the AFC is going to be pretty tough this year.
How about the Lions and Niners? I think it's week 16 or 17
Yeah.
that they play on Monday Night Football. I mean, the way they played last year, they met for the AFC Championship. They could be settling up for a big time game that week. Could be. I like the Super Bowl rematch in the middle of the season too. Week 7, I think, or 8. The Chiefs and the Niners. I think that's pretty awesome too. Good job, NFL.
Yeah. Hey guys, we're at the point where the NFL can sell anything. They can sell a schedule reveal. And
dude, there was bar parties, man. Where I live, man, there were parties at some of the bars by where I live. They were having NFL schedule release parties.
Seriously, they could set out team captains to New York for a paper, rock, scissors, home field advantage for the season opener kind of contest, and they would still draw like 5 million fans. It's just crazy the marketing power, unparalleled, unrivaled marketing power of the National Football League. Sean Lugo.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I wish I would have thought about this. We put parties together for so many things. We're going to raise some money for charity. I was just sitting here hitting my phone, watching NFL leaks, trying to figure out who the Bears were going to play so I get my tickets for home opener.
So I'm gonna. So it's funny because in my house, my girlfriend, the Steelers fan from Pittsburgh, and sure enough, the first game of the year, the Steelers go to Atlanta. Now, Atlanta is only about 2 hours and 45 minutes from where I live. And it's so she right away, she's like, find a way to get those tickets and make it happen for week one.
I tell you what, it's gonna be they're gonna be hot without question, guys. All right, fellas, our next segment here on Monsters of the Madhouse, the voice of the Chicago sports fan, is called Requiem for a Disgruntled Quarterback. And this is brought to you by TC's World of Wonders, where you can get your Caleb Williams Bears jersey at the best price and deal in online sports. Visit our good friend and his team at tcsworldofwonders.com. TC's World of Wonders is TC's World of Wonders is the official jersey source and memorabilia site for Chicago sports podcast friends. Well, guys, to call Justin Fields 3-year tenure as the Bears' maybe next franchise quarterback, Rocky, is like saying the Rocky Mountains have just a couple minor cliffs and Mount Everest is just a molehill. New details of just how dysfunctional the team's relationship with Fields was and how much drama and friction in the marriage there was revealed this week when the Bears. This story just blows my mind. Media reports coming out calling the Bears 2021 quarterback room with Fields and all-pro would-be mentors Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, two quarterbacks with long playoff resumes. The sources called it the atmosphere toxic as all hell, and another sign of just how the Bears and Justin Fields were never on the same frequency from the get-go. Guys, let's break down this. Do you blame all this friction on Fields, former Bears coach Matt Nagy, or is it a 50-50 kind of situation where both parties are really kind of set up themselves for failure here?
I can blame it on management for putting the worst team probably in NFL history on the field. I mean, what did they really give these guys to work with? I felt bad for Fields the entire time he was here because unlike Caleb Williams, who's being set up for success, it just more or less felt like he was set up to fail. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of looked at all this and I'm like, man, were there people that were actually there that actually know everything that happened? I don't know. I have a really, really hard time with this because a lot of things through the years with Justin Fields, this guy was a really good teammate. He was there for his players. I mean, he was out in the community. I don't know. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around these things.
Yeah. And Scottish Bear brings up a great point too. Josh Lucas, the Bears' former director of player personnel, kind of talked about this, in the past about just how Fields just never would accept or never was able to develop that kind of like mentor-student relationship with either Foles, who's a Super Bowl winning quarterback who engineered one of the greatest Super Bowl comeback from behind wins of all time, and then also Andy Dalton, who took a number of bad Bengals teams to the playoffs. Here's what Lucas said. He said, when you've got two guys that have won as much as Nick and Andy have, and you don't take that information in because you're a little standoffish and a little abrasive, well, then you're wasting that opportunity. Matt Cooper, the great American DJ, is that what Justin Fields did in 2021? Just completely waste an opportunity to learn from both two proven all-pro quarterbacks, no matter how bad that system might have been?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know the answer to that. I was trying to think about 2021 too. And first off, the coaching, that offense this year, it just didn't work. And players knew that, and they were calling coaches out for that. I just don't know. I don't know what's true to this, what is not true to this. But here's what I do know with the Justin Fields experiment with the Bears. When you start thinking about it, I'm not going to put everything on the coaches and the quarterbacks because I think Justin Fields had his fair share of mistakes. And if he wasn't able to take some of that in, then shame on him. But no offense to Nick Foles. Nick Foles sucked when he was with us, and I don't care. Listen, I know he went. I know he went when he did with the Eagles, which was spectacular. Yeah, the guy seems like he was an awesome guy, great guy to be around, a great leader. But then he went to the Jaguars. That didn't. I know he was hurt, but that
Yeah,
wasn't working out very
he had
well.
chances.
He
He's got
he, he
chances
had
a
chances
number of
there,
spots.
and then I questioned when we got him. I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't very impressed what he was doing in Jacksonville, and I thought he was terrible. Now, is that part of the offense? Yes, but I think he was out there making plays that he normally would make when he was with Philadelphia, and I'm like, okay, I see why this guy was a journeyman backup quarterback for so many years. And Andy Dalton, same thing. I was in Cincinnati when I lived in Cincinnati, and I saw some of his height and some of his promise, and he was a very good quarterback for them. And then he wasn't the same when he left. I think he had a good run with Dallas, and he came in same thing with us. He wasn't very impressive. I didn't think he put us in a good position to win.
Yeah.
And was that all on Andy Dalton? No, of course not. It was also on us. It was on our coaching staff. So I just don't know the answers to this. When you put all that stuff together between Nagy and the quarterback play, so I think it's all the way around with everybody on this
Yeah.
situation.
Well, and the Squirrels brings up a good point. Great point, Squirrels, about, just because the team's bad, you can't be bad. DJ Moore was thrown to by conservatively about 2,000 different quarterbacks in Carolina and was still putting up all pro 1,000-yard seasons. The thing about it is just nothing worked in 2021. When you have guys like Foles and Dalton who look completely lost out there and running a very predictable scheme. I think that was more than anything. That scheme was so predictable. And then, when you have the injury to Dalton and then you have to rein things back for Justin because Fields comes in, you've got to work with his strengths. You don't want him in a situation where he's running too much as a rookie quarterback. It seemed like it was just destined to fail, Sean Lugo.
I heard, I thought I read earlier this week that Foles never even wanted Justin Fields here and didn't want to work with him. So
that could be too. Yeah.
We don't know these guys personally, and I guess we do have a little insight there, but I don't know. I'm with Coop on this one. I really don't know what to think. I'm gonna be rooting for the guy. I think a lot of his failures here were due to his situation. He was brought in pretty much to a rebuild and said, "Here, you're gonna be the rookie quarterback." They almost killed him in Cleveland, and I can understand some
no protection. Yeah.
Dude, what are you guys doing to me?
Yeah. But Coop, was this just a sign of maybe rookie maturity, or is this an issue that do you think is going to, because this becomes family for you? This is personal for you, Matt Cooper. He's going to Pittsburgh now. Should the Steelers take a buyer's remorse approach with Fields as he seeks to learn under another Super Bowl winning quarterback in Russell Wilson?
Well, here's the funny thing about that is, first off, see, this is why I have a lot of questions, because I felt like a lot of the Bears players came and stood up for Fields last year. A lot of the players coming up and saying, we want him as our quarterback next year. If he was so well disliked or not listening to the room, a lot of players wouldn't be coming out for him just like that. So I just, again, a lot of that stuff's just, you read stuff like that and you don't know what's true and not true. And I have no bias, or I have nothing to back up my comments. I'm just saying from what I see and hear out there with players from our team last year that were coming out. Now, for Justin, I think that was the best thing that happened to him was to get out of there. So I think it was the best thing for it. I was like, you know what? You need a reset. You've had these different offensive coordinators. Now you go to a team that has been sustainable and it has a coaching staff that's been there forever. And they got to. And I think what's lost in all this is the Steelers have a new offensive coordinator. Now I know Arthur Smith wasn't the best head coach for the Falcons, but that guy's a very good offensive coordinator.
Yes.
He's a very good offensive play mind, and he's going to go in there. And I don't see Russell Wilson unless something surprises me. I think Russell Wilson's not going to be the quarterback very long. Heck, if Justin Fields goes in and outplays him, I could see him being quarterback week one, and he's in the right position now because I think he can succeed there.
Yeah, he can. I think it's all about finding the system that suits your strengths. And like you said, he's got a very good offensive mind now that's going to be designing his schemes. Sean Lugo, could it possibly be that, like Coop's saying, Justin Fields outplays Russell Wilson by October 1st, and maybe he has a comeback player of the year caliber year? I mean, is that out of the question?
I'll say if he's the same guy who was in Denver, I think it's very much in the question because he was god awful finishing up in Denver. He's got some playmakers around him, and I still do believe in his ability. I mean, the guy does have talent. And he's got better structure around him. I never thought that in Chicago he had anyone in his ear to pick him up and help him at any time. And maybe just going back to those two quarterbacks, they weren't his style. so he didn't mesh with them well.
Yeah.
You know, Russell and him have a lot of things in common as far as playing style, getting out, you know, moving the ball, throwing. I mean, it could work, and I really hope it does. I wish this kid nothing but success in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
absolutely. Yeah, he can still run like a deer, and you
Yeah.
root for it. I mean, you can't. I think for all Bears fans, one thing we can't say. I mean, we've seen enough tape on Justin Fields on and off the field to know he is a class act, and that hasn't changed. So it was really the only option for both teams. And let's part ways, work for the best. Let's not all divorces, as we know, have to be tumultuous. So let's hope all for the best for him. But we will be seeing him in our rearview mirror come January, without question. Hey, fellas, let's talk about the extreme makeover of one Matt Eberflus. This segment is brought to you by the Worst Stadium Club. The next best seat and eats this side of the stadium. Friends, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Get in on the action with the voice of the Chicago sports fan, Chicago Sports Podcast. Guys, don't look now, but there's a new GQ model in Hallis Hall, and his name is the runway ready Magic Man, Matt Eberflus. Woo! He is styling, profiling like a young Brandon Trax Hyatt, and he reportedly is making Nature Boy Ric Flair green with envy these days. Guys, Coach Flus, with probably an assist from his wife and daughters, is styling a beard and sometimes a goatee and dressing more like Tom Brady than the notoriously fashion-challenged Bill Belichick these days. The reviews from the NFL fashion world are glowing. Is this Matt Cooper, the new George Clooney of the NFL?
Man, he's a very good-looking guy, isn't he? He looked good in those photos. His whole family, not you know, hold on, not just him. His entire family looked really good in those photos.
He's got a great-looking family.
And
Yeah.
it really caught me off guard because when you think of our coach that way, I just thought of him last year of that burly beard and the hair, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like he just looked lost at times with his look. And then I see those. Then I see those type of.
Yeah.
And I see those type. I'm like, dude, that's a good looking family, man.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I tell you what, Flus, but yeah, there's a polish there. There's a polish there, Sean Lugu, that wasn't there last year when we're just seeing them in the Bears, you know, and the Bears sweatshirts that we all wear. This man has definitely gone to style school in the offseason.
We call that polish Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, and Allen. I'd be dressing a little bit better with those guys in my hip pocket as well. I hate to say this because I hate to mention these guys anytime we talk any kind of Chicago sports because they're always a thorn in our side. But the guy up north has a little GQ to him as well.
He does, yeah. Yeah, you gotta call it like you see him. Yeah, he's styling, and the thing about it is, it's always the perfect amount of hair gel, Sean. It's just the perfect amount, and the goatee is never out of place. I mean, it's yeesh. All right, Matt Cooper. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being Cleve Campbell or 10 being Brad Pitt, what do you rate Coach Flus's new swaggish look?
Ooh. I don't know, Clean. Nothing against you, but I would say I don't know, that look in that photo. I would say a 7 or an 8. He was styling, man. He looked like because when you think of the good, as we're talking about good-looking coaches in the NFL right now, guys, I know we get this. As I start thinking about Matt LaFleur and Kevin Stefanski and all these coaches, Sean McVay, I know he's a good-looking coach too. Do you put him up there in the upper echelon now? Do you put him in like the top 5, top 10?
That's a good one. Cliff Victoria, our good friend Cliff, thanks for checking in. He said we all know who made this happen. It's his wife. It always is the wife. Listen to your wives, boys. What do you think, Sean? Is he a top 5 solid?
I think he's cracking the top 5. They need to find someone to bring back that Walter Payton McMahon Miami Vice picture.
Yeah.
Get them in those fancy suits.
Yeah, exactly.
Some pink flamingos. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you bring up a good point, Sean. About the monsters of the Midway, the 85 Bears. That team, the style of that team, and not everybody's wearing suits, guys. Everybody has their own style. That's what really blows my mind when I think about that team. Steve Michael has his own style. The rough kind of Don Johnson that style. Then you got Tunky QB, Jim. Who was on the cutting edge of everything 1980 style. And then, like you said, seriously, Walter Payton, in my mind, maybe outside of Michael Jordan, the best dressed and just most styling athlete in Chicago sports history.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys were a little bit ahead of the time. They also had ahead of the time money, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh man, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Coach was styling today, wearing those dark sunglasses. But but you're right though. It does come back to the Caleb Williams effect, because Caleb Williams makes everybody look good right now.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. Well, we'll see how we're all looking here in about 4 months, guys. But it's good to see this, because you think, is there any question that he is the best dressed coach now, post makeover, for the Bears since Mike Ditka?
No, absolutely. He's bringing that swagger back. The Bears are getting their swagger back, and the head coach is leading the way. Although you can't sell Poles back, man, because his shoe game is pretty good too, man.
Yeah,
He's got an excellent shoe game.
He's got excellent shoes. And the thing about RP is even suits. That guy wears a suit so well.
Yeah, he does.
And he's stretching it. I mean, he's stretching. He could teach Flair a thing about styling and profiling and straight into the ring without question.
Maybe that's the new Miami Vice poster. If they make it the playoffs, we can put Flus.
I need some shoe advice too. So I mean,
yeah. Of course, now Flus is going to have to throw all this out, guys. If we lose to the Titans, if it's bad luck, week one.
Oh God,
we'll see how that plays out, friends. This next segment of Chicago Sports Podcast is brought to you by our good friends at Serendipity Ice Cream Parlor, where it is always delicious summertime, ladies and gentlemen. This is the curse of the ex-Cub, and let me tell you, friends, what a curse it's been. 3 years ago, on the Blackest Friday, this side of Christmas, this side of the day after Thanksgiving in Chicagoland, was when the Cubs broke up their groundbreaking core of their 2016 World Championship team. We all remember the day. But what's happened since then, guys? Maybe it's the curse of the Billy Goat. Maybe some hex applied by a bitter St. Louis Cardinals fan named Joe Campbell. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe it's the baseball gods laughing. Or perhaps it's just a chilling statement about how extremely difficult the game of Major League Baseball is, because everybody we let go of, with exception of Kyle Schwarber, has disappeared from Major League All-Star rosters, has become a shadow of their former selves. Let's look at this, guys. This is absolutely crazy. How badly the big three of the Cubs, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, and Chris Bryant, are struggling right now. And Jed Hoyer, Cubs president, called their future struggles to a T, guys. Listen to this. Going into tonight, Anthony Rizzo's hitting a solid 250 with 23 RBIs as he is recovering from 2023 concussion, but he's still no Freddie Freeman. Javier Baez is batting 167 with 13 RBIs. He has the second lowest batting average in Major League Baseball. He's not even a Bob Uecker right now. Chris Bryant is batting 149 with six boys RBIs for the Colorado Rockies, and he has a seemingly permanent spot on the Rockies injured list. Is Matt Cooper, your thoughts? Is Jed Hoyer's bold move to part with three of the most beloved Cubs of all time the single biggest X factor of why this team is not in a salary hell right now and contending for a playoff spot with one of the Major League Baseball's best farm systems?
Well, refresh my memory. Wasn't he trying to resign some of these? Like I can't remember, but it's my fault for not remembering. But I thought at some point he was trying to resign. I think maybe it was Baez. I don't know, but at the same time, he wasn't going to pay the amount of money that these guys got paid. Now, I will say this about Rizzo. I think Rizzo has actually done well with the Yankees. I think he's a big reason why they went to especially those first couple of years. If there's any one of the players that has been successful since they've left, I'll put Rizzo in there. But man, what Baez has done with the Tigers has just been mind-boggling to me. If this was if he was not making this amount of money, or if he didn't have 6 more years left on that contract, he would have been DFA'd right now for the way he's playing, because he has not hit. I know his defense is still good, but not hitting the way he has, there's no excuse. He should not be the starting shortstop every day, but he's going to be because of the amount of money he makes. And then I think Bryant, we saw that coming too. His decline because of all the injuries that he's had. Now, remember when he got traded to the Giants, he did do very well with them as they were making that playoff push, but the way the Rockies signed him, I'm like, man, I don't know if that's going to come back and bite him. And it certainly has, because he's been on the injured list a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about him. He's become peanut brittle, Sean, as Coop was saying too. Like he hasn't. I don't think he's had 100-game season that he's. I don't think he's appeared in 100 games in a season since we traded him.
He has not. He has not, man. The decline of Chris Bryant is amazing, man. I mean, he was Blue Jesus here, and I remember this so fondly, and I know if he's watching right now, I'm going to throw it out, Scott Angel. He was so mad, and he almost wanted to give up his Cubdom when they broke this core up. And I'm like, dude, look at what we got back. Let's go, man. And I'm very happy that it happened. The only person out of this group I wanted to keep was Anthony Rizzo. I wanted Anthony Rizzo to be a Cub until he retired.
Yeah.
Not to pile on Javi Baez, but I think he has the lowest on-base percentage of baseball currently right now as well. It happened at a perfect time. We got great players. They're starting to come up into the major leagues. Canario in the deal over here with Bryant. Ben Brown. Oh no, that was David Robinson. But some of these players in the minor leagues that are starting to come up, I think we're going to do very, very, very well with them, and they'll start forgetting about these guys. It was a good job by Hoyer. Now, if they can just sign some players for our current team, this would be great.
Wait, you think about it. What we basically, as Sean's talking about, we dodged $500 million, Coop, in bad contracts. Javi Baez, $140 million over 6 years. Chris Bryant, 7 years. I believe it's $182 million. Anthony Rizzo, I'm right there with you, Sean, Mr. Chicago. He would make sense to. I mean, he was the modern day Ernie Banks for me, but still, I mean, he's been paid over $60 million from the Yankees, and we're not even talking about the $75 million that the Cardinals gave to Wilson Contreras. So you look at all the bad deals, Coop, that Hoyer has dodged. And he saw it before anybody, and I think that's a statement to his ability to evaluate and develop talent and also know when they hit that wall.
Yeah, I do. And you know what's funny about Contreras? Contreras, before he got hurt this year, was actually off to a really good start. He was the only player that was hitting for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And that was one of the better starts that he's been off to. I actually always kind of liked Wilson Contreras as a player. Now, there was something obviously that wasn't connecting with him in Ross. And I know that was a big debate of does he come, does he stay? And they didn't really make it that big attempt to do that.
No.
But I think they made the right call on that one too, because with all that money that you're saving, and these guys are starting to get a little bit older. So you got to be very careful with Major League Baseball and free agency, because I feel like if you don't hit on the right free agent contract, it's going to come back and hurt you really bad in the end. And look what has happened to some of these other teams. Like Anthony Rendon, I thought was a big reason why the Washington Nationals won the World Series back in 2019.
Yeah.
He was like their star MVP, and he is the complete opposite of what he was with the Nationals.
7 years, $250 million, Coop. And listen to this, Mr. Chicago. He hasn't even played 250 games for Anaheim right now. The guy's just stealing money.
And you know what? Didn't he say he doesn't have interest in baseball recently anymore?
Yeah, he's talking about his family. Yeah,
he's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, wow.
Well, even recently, like I was looking at other players like that too. Like the White Sox, they've done some moves that I've just shook my head at here the last couple years. But letting Abreu go, I agreed with that one, and I loved Abreu on our team. And you could start seeing that slugging percentage go down that last year, and I'm like, uh-oh. And sure enough, he went to the Astros, and he signed like a 3 or 4 year deal for all that money, and he's been terrible for them.
Yeah. Oh, without question. And with all the problems that the White Sox had, obviously we know we've discussed it ad nauseum. The rebuild didn't work, Sean, but they still have not signed a single player to a $100 million contract. As bad as they're in shape as they're in, they're not in. They're not in salary purgatory for the next 5 years, like teams like Washington and the Dodgers are going to be 5-10 years from now.
Yeah, and as these players that they have start coming back that are injured, hopefully they play well enough and they'll be shipped out of here, and you guys will be in this rebuilding process. I still think the Sox have some promise down there. I know everyone thinks it's doom and gloom, but they got some good guys. We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
And they're going to get some players back here. Hopefully their players can come back and stay healthy. We'll see.
Yeah.
Running down the first base seems to be a major problem.
Hopefully.
The one aspect of the game that this franchise obviously is still working on. Cheryl Childers, our great friend, scoreboard Cheryl, kept us up to date. White Sox played the red hot Yankees tough tonight, Coop, 4-2. But as Cheryl pointed out when she gave us the score, they had runner in scoring position. They're right there to tie the game potentially. Then they remembered they were the White Sox. But that being said, as Sean's saying, this team is playing more competitive baseball week by week.
Yeah, I think I talked about this. I can't remember if it was last week or Wednesday, but it started with Tommy Pham, with them signing Pham, and they needed a hitter like him, a professional hitter that can put the ball in play. And he had a couple of hits tonight. I know he's hitting like 330, 333-ish, somewhere around there right now. And that really helps, because now when you got a guy like him coming into your lineup, that's going to help some of the other batters. I know Andrew Vaughn's been a lot better, and he was off to an awful start in the beginning.
He really has found it.
It looks like he's found his way a little bit here, so he's hitting the ball, and they've been even defensively they've been playing a little bit better in the pit. But it's really starting pitching that has kept them in the games with Fetty, who's been fantastic, man. He's been great. Crochet has been really good, and it's been fun to watch those guys. Now, the question is, are both of those guys going to be here in about another 2? Fetty's on a 1-year contract, and if that guy continues to pitch the way he's pitching right now, there's going to be some competitive teams out there that are going to need him. And even Garrett Crochet, and I think the same thing. If somebody comes up for him and says, "Hey, we'll give you whatever," every player on that team to me is open and debatable. To bring whatever.
Yeah, you're right, because there's no long-term anchors right now, and I don't think Chris Getz is married to any of these guys long-term either.
He shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, with where they're at, absolutely. All right, fellas, let's talk about a situation that Sean Lugo has been on since opening day. The Chicago Cubs bullpen. This team cannot, go wire to wire to make the playoffs with this relief course as it currently is in progress. This segment of Chicago Sports Broadcast is brought to you by Bridges Scoreboard, your Northwest Indiana Chicago sports headquarters with the Hall of Fame menu, and also by the official fantasy sports partner of Chicago Sports Podcast, Underdog Fantasy. You've been talking about this, Mr. Chicago. The Cubs finally made a call to the 1-800 bullpen helpline. He's not an all-star, and you don't want him swinging with runners in scoring position in the game on the line. But the Cubs have upgraded their pen by getting a right-hander who can do some things for them. Tyson Miller, they acquired this week. John Lugo for minor league shortstop. Jake Slaughter and cash. The Cubs bullpen is currently pitching to a very troublesome 4.40 ERA. Miller is right now he's pitching about a 3.09 ERA. He already had a good whole outing for the Cubs. Is this enough to duct tape the Cubs bullpen for the time being, or is this going to be a situation where do you think that Carter Hawkins is basically going to try to have to retool this bullpen every single week because of both injuries and ineffectiveness?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we just had another injury. Brewer went down. Porter Hodges up. He's going to get a crack at the major league level here. There are no answers. I mean, every time we roll someone out there, they're good for an outing. And then we're like, oh, maybe we found something. Next outing, they're giving up 4 runs.
The league gets done fast. Yeah.
It's been, again, this goes back to the end of the season going into this season. This was the problem last year. What's the definition of insanity? Like, I mean, what are we doing? Yeah. And now I'm reading that they want to package Triantos, Alcantara, and Casey for Miller. Are you insane? No. Please do not do that. That should not even be an option. I understand he has pitcher control, but no, they do need to find a couple of other cheap pieces some way, somehow. The one thing I'm really disappointed in is having Mastroboni here, and I don't mean to get off a topic. You got Vasquez tearing it up in the minor leagues, and you're bringing up this bum for the second year who can't hit baseball. It's like, I don't know what this team's doing. It doesn't give me a lot of faith that they're going to fix this year yet again, and we're going to be sitting here wasting this fantastic, unbelievably amazing starting pitching we're getting.
Yeah, in Coop, like Sean says, I mean, this offense is not the 27 Yankees. It's going to run. It's already kind of cooling off, and it's going to have a stretch where it just disappears for weeks on end. This starting pitching, as good as it is, won't be able to carry us. There's something about the art of putting together a bullpen that neither the Cubs or the White Sox have really been able to figure out. I would say maybe since 2016, and that Cubs bullpen, the
Shit.
road to get to Aroldis Chapman is a rocky one at best. What is it about the bullpen, which I think is one of the hardest things for any coach or manager to put together in any sport? But why is the bullpen, the art of putting together a terrific bullpen, so hard, particularly in Chicago?
Well, there's a lot of ways you can go with this, but I think it starts when you don't have a reliable closer like
Yeah.
the Cubs do, and they don't have a reliable closer this year. And it was
Sure.
already from the start. Yeah, he struggled all year, and that kind of backfires, and it's a domino effect for everybody else. Now, there's another thing that I think that we're leaving out here. I think Cubs going into this season, there was a couple of things that they needed. I still thought they needed to go out and get another bullpen arm or two, and then they needed another hitter, another offensive bat in that lineup that I think they're missing right now. But the bullpen, I think, is right there at the top. And if they want to be competitive and they want to get in this division's very winnable. I mean, I still think listen, I still think it's going to be between them and and listen, the Brewers they're a lot better than I thought. The Brewers are actually their offense is putting up some very good numbers this year, and maybe I underestimated Reese Hoskins, that signing of him for them to play first base, but he's been good for them. The Brewers team's a good team. They're a good team, but I think the Reds are going to be right there with them in the end. So with that being said, I don't think any one of these teams are juggernauts or powerhouses, and it's there to be the taking. But if the Cubs are going to want to win this division, they're going to have to get a closer. I think that's going to start right there. And I don't think it's going to be Miller from the A's. Listen, the A's are going to ask the world for that guy, and rightfully so, and they absolutely should, because they know they're not going to be spending money on players. That's how they build their team. But when you have a guy that's that dominant and it's under control, they know they can get something for him, and they're looking for a team to overpay for him. They need to go get a closer that's on the last year of a contract right now. Yeah. That's going to be a free agent by the end of the year. That's going to be a rental player that's putting up some good numbers, and that's what they need to go, and they need to start there and then kind of work their way up.
Yeah. And Sean, piggyback on a great point that Coop made too. The Ricketts family over the last 4 or 5 years, they've always stopped short of getting that high average power bat that can supplement an offense. This offseason, we let Jamar Candelario go to the Reds. He's been a big impact for them too. We've seen them do it in years past where they haven't spent that additional $15 or $20 million you need to put another high average power bat in the lineup. And I look at this lineup right now too, and it scares me to death that what happened last year, Sean, over the final 2 weeks of September could happen again this year. Everybody stops hitting, and we're blowing games with a terrible bullpen.
You want to know the truth? And the one thing that I think would have changed this whole lineup is if they would have pulled the trigger on Matt Chapman.
Yeah,
that was the guy that I was like, please. Every day I woke up, I'm like, please say we got Matt Chapman signed. Yeah. Like, if you put Morel. And I know we talked about Morel, and I do have a correction for a little bit later on Morel I'd like to make before we go off the air.
Yeah.
But if you put Morel in the DH spot, and he doesn't have to worry about all the other intricacies that he has to worry about at third base, I think he would be a lot better at the plate. Then you got Chapman in there. I think the disservice to him is throwing him at third base, and he's trying to learn how to be a hitter. He's trying to learn how to be a third baseman. You're throwing a lot at this kid at a major league level, and I really think it's affecting him a little bit at the plate.
Yeah. With Chapman too, I wonder if they got scared off the deal with Boris as well. But yeah, it's nerve wracking because I look at the trade deadline. When we get there, obviously it's going to be we're at least 2 relievers away, but we're like you said, guys, we're 1 bat away too. Really having the offense.
Really quick too. When we get towards the trade deadline, how many teams do you think are going to be sending players this year? Because I feel like this year there's so many average outside of the 3 teams we just talked about, the Yankees, the Orioles, or I think we talked about off here about the best teams. Yeah. But outside of those teams, there's a lot of just average teams that are right there that are going to be fighting for it. So I wonder how many teams of like the White Sox and the Rockies are going to start making those moves.
Yeah.
If we throw this in the hat, we can try and maybe steal your guy Kopech if he can keep throwing up solid performance after performance here. I would say Kopech. He's got some nasty junk.
You guys can have him.
Yeah.
I'm right there.
I'm going to stay solid here.
Buyer beware on that one, I think, fellas, for sure. Hey, before we move on, is there a point you wanted to getting back to Morel? Is there one more point you wanted to make on him, Sean?
Yeah, last week I said, it'd be okay trading him for a reliever. but it's truly, I call it the mystery of Morel.
Mhm.
Coming into the year, he was a 2.2 WAR. Right now, he's at 0.0, and I think that really has a lot to do with him playing, obviously, in the defense and the defensive side at third base. He's just not been as good. But I think I texted you this during the week, Clete.
Yeah.
His walk percentage is up. His strikeout percentage is low. His percentage of swinging at balls out of the strike zone is down. There's a lot of good things. And then that started really me thinking about, man, if this guy wasn't at third base, because I've heard this in baseball in the past, when you throw too much at an individual, it can sometimes affect this part of the game or that part of the game. And I think for Morel, I really think if he would have just been able to focus on hitting, I think this guy could be a 260, 275 hitter.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would love for him right now to be a straight DH, because I think that, like you said, that takes all that pressure defensively off him too. Well,
So
man,
don't trade him. Keep him.
yeah,
I think
exactly.
Damn
And
right.
Javier Baez, if you're watching by chance, study Christopher Morel's bat film. Guys, could there be another Windy City Hoops Angel finally emerging in Chicago? This segment of Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse, is brought to you by Budget Jet Cars, your trusted friend for safe, reliable, and affordable transportation during this fast and furious Chicagoland summer. Coop Angel Reese wants to be the Michael Jordan of Chicago's women hoops and the second coming of Candace Parker. Now, whether she has the dynamic game to accomplish that Willis Tower esque high feat remains to be seen, Coop. But do you like the heart, fire, hustle, and moxie that the Sky's Rookie Post is showing, through the first week of the WNBA season?
Yeah, I love it already. I loved it at the end of the year for college women's basketball too. I mean, there's everything to like about her. You know what? This is cool that we're even talking about this, because I feel like in the WNBA, this is you don't spend a lot of time on that, but you got these players, and it's not just Caitlin Clark. Listen, Caitlin Clark put everybody on. Yeah, she put everybody on the board right now. And were they playing tonight? By the way, was Indy's first game tonight?
I think they played last night. I think they have tonight
last
off.
night. Okay, tonight
off.
off. Yeah. Oh, the Pacers are playing tonight. That's
yeah.
it. So what not only what she has done, but now with some of these others that came into the league this year, has brought so much excitement to basketball, to women's basketball. Heck, I was reading about for one of the games of the celebrities that were out at some of these games right now, and they're selling, and the crowds are going to games. So I like everything. Yes, I like everything, and I think she's just going to keep getting better. And I know they play again tomorrow night.
Mhm.
And there's going to be a lot of people watching, including myself. If I'm going to be here and I'll be going back and forth, and I see that game pop across, I will have that on.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have that on before. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Like Coop's saying, Sean, women's basketball has never been hotter. My wife Jill, our daughter Mackenzie, Gabby Marshall, terrific ace 3-point shooter for the Iowa women's basketball program, back-to-back national championship game appearances. She signed 1,000 autographs here in Dubuque, Iowa last night. And we're talking about maybe the third best player on the Iowa women's team this year. But it just seems like we have this wonderful rebirth in women's basketball. And Angel Reese, although she's been in the shadow of Caitlin for the last 2 years, she's got the championship ring. Caitlin can't see her, as we know. But Angel Reese, I think, is just as important as Caitlin, as any of the stars of South Carolina or UCLA. And now you put her in a situation where, the spotlight will be on her, but not at the Caitlin level. I think Angel Reese has the potential to be a perennial all-star for the Sky.
Yeah, I think she's gonna be a really good player. I mean, she was a very dynamic player in college. She was one of the best players in there. She won her national championship. I think she's maybe grown from her Caitlin Clark incident after she won the national championship, which I didn't care for too much myself. But she's in a perfect city, perfect situation. And what was that center that they drafted from South Carolina? I can't remember.
Terrific. Yeah, she's out right now 4 to 6 weeks, but you're right, 6'7", but just an absolute monster. So those two together, when they both get healthy, watch out, guys. That could be a lot of fun.
Could have something there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Straight out, will Angel Reese be Chicago's next women's basketball superstar? Straight up.
Yes.
Yes, I'll agree. I do.
Yeah.
Agree.
That's an easy one.
And Caitlin, I agree with Dustin here. Caitlin Clark, I mean, her first game, 10 turnovers.
Dustin, you're speaking the gospel truth. It's going to take a while. And, the problem with Caitlin Clark's game, obviously, she's a terrific passer. We know that. We all know about, the shoot from Kentucky threes that she can hit. But, yeah, right now she is a girl among women. as Deanna Taurasi has been so eager to let her know. She'll get there, I think, Dustin, but it's going to be a trial by fire. I think without question. She'll be much better come August than she is right now. But yeah, there's going to be a steep learning curve for her. Without question. Hey, friends, as you know, Chicago Sports Podcast is the voice of the Chicago sports fan, the hardest working man in sports podcasting. Brandon Trax Hyatt, the Punky LT. I tell you what, this man, as we know, folks, does not sleep. Listen to some of the stuff we got coming up for you next week, folks, right here on Chicago Sports Podcast from the 1985 Super Bowl champion Bears. Kurt Becker will be in the house with us Monday night, and then Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday night, I'm excited about this. A Chicago sports media icon, the number one morning show, one half of the number one morning show in Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. The man, the myth, the legendary Jonathan Hood from the Cap and J Hood show from ESPN 1000 will be with us. We're scheduled hopefully Tuesday with J Hood. So keep an eye on that. Be sure to watch us on our Facebook page for all breaking news, everything Chicago sports. Like us on YouTube and know that Brandon Trax Hyatt is living, breathing, eating this 24/7, trying to bring the biggest guests and the best sports talk to the great sports fans of Chicago. Okay, fellas, before we call it a night, guys, Matt Cooper, we are less than we're less than 18 hours away from the Preakness. Does Mystic Dan complete the second leg of the Triple Crown tomorrow, Coop?
I would like to say that I'm an expert and I think it's going to happen. Well, all these years when I living in Louisville, all these years living in Louisville, Kentucky, yeah. I thought I was a horse racing expert, and I would look at all the programs and look at all the numbers, and then I'd be wrong on every single one. So if you're asking me to get some advice for horse racing, I'm probably not the right person for that because I was bet against the wrong odds.
All right, though, but you've been right more than wrong lately, particularly on the Derby, my friend. Mr. Chicago, Sean Lugo. Mr. Dan, a 5-2 favorite right now. 5-2 favorite. Do you like his chances of moving one step closer?
I'm calling Eddie O. I'm going to say, I'm going to go with Coop here and say, I'm going to pretend like I'm an expert and say, sure, why not? Let's go for it.
All right. Okay.
I'm glad you said it, not me.
All right. Friends, if you're looking for an underdog, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Just Steel, the official horse of one Justin Steele himself, the man of Steel. He's going off at 15-1 tomorrow if you need a Preakness sleeper.
Have we checked the weather? What's the weather supposed to be like there tomorrow, too?
Tomorrow, it's your choice. It either pours there or you get 90 degrees and sun. There's no middle ground, it seems like, for that course out in Baltimore. It looks pretty good. Post time will be 5:57 p.m. Central Time. But yeah, I think it should be optimum racing conditions, which should run in, Mr. Dan's favor. But if we have a finish, fellas, that's half as exciting as the Kentucky Derby when we had that 3-horse head-to-head photo finish that Mr. Dan wins by a nose, that would be one heck of a Preakness. See, friends, that will be on NBC tomorrow night. Mr. Chicago, Sean Lugo, Matt, the Great American DJ Cooper. Gentlemen, what's on the agenda for you both this weekend?
I'm going to a baseball card show tomorrow at the Schaumburg Convention Center.
Nice.
Selling us some cards, and outside of that, maybe do a little swimming if the weather keeps up, depending on how these allergies are outside. If not, I'll be on the couch watching Imanaga pitch.
Yeah, there you go. The show will be played possibly at the Lugo residence. Hey, I hope those allergies just die down.
Hope you get better.
Thank you,
yeah. You want to talk about MVP playing hurt? Sean Lugo, ladies and gentlemen, overcoming some serious spring allergies. Coop, what you got going on this fine weekend, my friend?
No, man. I'll be watching a lot of sports, a lot of the playoffs between the NBA, the NHL. Yeah. I'll watch another Sox game probably tomorrow night. Oh no, wait, I'm going out to dinner tomorrow night. We're going out to dinner tomorrow night too. So,
nice.
But that's it. There's not much going on, man. Just watch. I do what I did last weekend. Watch a lot of sports, a lot of the playoffs, and
I'm right there with you, Coop. I call this the calm before Memorial Day weekend.
Hey, I'll tell you what, everybody, don't miss Game 7, Timberwolves and Nuggets. That's going to be special on Sunday night.
Amen.
It's going to be a great game.
Yes. It will be great. As I tell you what, as Sean Lugo was saying, folks, you do not want to miss that. That is going to be coming up Sunday, 2:30
Oh, that's a
No,
2:30?
I apologize. I'm wrong. It is the Sunday night game.
Oh, thank
Yeah, I
God.
thought it was a night game. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, I think it's a night game.
Pacers Knicks, which is another game 7, 2 game 7s. Pacers Knicks goes at 2:30. As Mr. Chicago Sean Lugo said, Timberwolves Nuggets go Sunday night. Nuggets 4.5-point favorite.
Oh yeah, the
even
Pacers
after
are about to
that
win.
whoop lashing. So yeah, big weekend, folks. Be sure to check out so much stuff going on. Bring you up to date from the NHL. Well, the Boston Bruins are gone. The team that has won the
They
most
lost.
regular season games over the last 2 years in NHL history.
Yeah, that was blowing up on my phone
Florida
too.
Panthers tonight, 2-1. Stars and Avalanche, they are scoreless in the first period. But I love this time of year. So much going on. Fellas, enjoy the sports this weekend, guys. I tell you what, Sean, you get better, my friend. Hope those allergies die down. And to all our great friends, our great friend Dustin Jones, and you bet if I ever buy a horse, it would be Cleto Foot, Dustin. Thank you so much to everyone for chatting in tonight. Skeeter, Cliff Victoria, Jeremy, all of our friends. So great to see you. Just great stuff as always. Squeegee with great stuff for us. So it's great seeing you all. Please keep joining us Monday night, as we mentioned. Brandon Trax Hyatt will be right back here on the airwaves with a Super Bowl champion for the Chicago Bears, one of the all-time greats of that great team, Kurt Becker, in the house. Friends, this is the voice of the Chicago sports fan. This is Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. I'm Cleet Soup Campbell. That's Mr. Chicago, Sean Lugo, and that's the great American DJ, Matt Cooper. We're wishing you all a wonderful weekend, friends. Thanks for kicking off your weekend with us. Until we meet again, keep living your life like the fearless Hall of Famer, Steve Mongo McMichael, with everything you got. Good night, Chicago. We'll see you next time on Monsters of the Madhouse.